Oh,
Gosh, we're here.
that was quite the experience.
I hated it. It was all terrible.
Okay, well, it's that time again. All right. Well, we're gonna keep this short and sweet today.
Oh,
The
that's what we
f-
say, I think, every time.
yeah, that's true. We do say that a lot, and we don't often follow through.
Not once.
Well, the Flash review will be coming up shortly here in a minute, but before that, uh, movie news, TV news. First up, Kraven the Hunter, the trailer. You seen it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I'm not a fan of how they've been making all of these Spider-Man villains anti-heroes.
Hmm.
That's what he seems like he is. It looks like he's not actually a villain, but he kills to do good.
Kind of
Just like
the Venmo or whoa! I just got a Venmo notification. Venom. Whoa! Dyslexia strikes again. Venom. Kind of like that,
yeah,
or like Black Adam is kind of another deal where that's happened.
yeah. It's just like it looked decent. It didn't look terrible,
Yeah.
but it's also not something that like got me excited to see it or
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I was hoping for more of like a Joaquin Phoenix's Joker
Mhm.
kind of movie where it's clear that they're the bad guy, but it like shows you their perspective as to
Right,
like why they're like that.
right.
And it doesn't really look like that's going to be the movie that we're gonna get necessarily.
Mm-mm.
Um, I will say I think the quality of the movie looked pretty admirable, at least from the
Yeah,
first trailer to me. Like when I saw the Morbius trailer or the Venom 2 trailer, I was much less enthusiastic about it than I was about this one. I think it looks like a better film than
right.
those ones. Granted, like there's no way to really know
The movie comes out.
until we see it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I kind of was thinking when I saw the trailer is I feel like comic book movies have been doing this thing for so long where they are hyping up or fans are so hyped about these fan favorite characters that are kind of either villains or like not as well known characters maybe, and they hype them up for so long and the studio doesn't do anything about it, and then all of a sudden they're like announce this big grandiose movie for this character. And like they did that kind of with Black Adam because Black Adam's a fan favorite
Right.
villain as well. Like Venom's had some appearances before, but like same thing with Tom Hardy's Venom. And I feel like when you do that, it ends up underwhelming a lot
Yeah.
of the time because I know in comic books like they have these storylines where it is mostly about that character, but they're often like an accessory to the rest of the storyline and the rest of the cast
Yeah.
in those kinds of aspects. And so I wish they would introduce them a little differently and kind of test the waters before they jumped into something bigger like that. And I think a perfect example of that I thought of was Black Panther. Like
Mhm.
that is a character that people have been wanting to see for ages,
Right.
and they introduced him in Civil War, and he was one of the best aspects of that movie,
Yeah.
despite not being in every frame and being the main character.
Right.
And I think that catapulted the success of the Black Panther movie a lot more than if you were to just come in with that character. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they would have done it poorly or that it wouldn't have been the same movie. I just think when you introduce a character like that, that fans have been hyping up for so long in a more kind of like warming up way, it allows you to be more successful. And I feel like the fact that we haven't really seen Kraven the Hunter before on this big screen makes me worried for how you're going to carry an entire storyline about him. And I know
Right.
you can do it, but it seems a little more daunting.
Yeah. I also didn't like the fact that this is going to be the first time we actually see Rhino
Mm,
too. Because we got the teaser at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2,
right.
and now Rhino's a Kraven the Hunter villain. And it's like, why why do that? Those are both Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me on I just don't even think Kraven should be an anti-hero. He isn't. He's a villain.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think it would have been cool to kind of like tease him at the end of a Spider-Man movie or I don't even know like but I agree like
Yeah.
if you put him into something so that we can get warmed up to him, see how he's going to like be portrayed and then give him a movie or even like make him the villain first in a
Right.
Spider-Man movie and then give him a movie.
Yeah.
Like like I think they should do that with Namor. Like
Hmm.
especially cuz I don't know if you saw it, but Marvel got the rights back to Namor and to Hulk so they
Hmm.
can now finally make their
Sequel, whatever.
like
Yeah.
their solo movies
Yeah.
and whatever. But yeah, I think Namor would be a cool one to see. But kind of do that. And then another thing, this movie's rated R. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. I wonder how much of it I like it looks very just like because of subject matter, like
Yeah.
of how violent it is, which I don't necessarily mind. I when I was watching the trailer, it struck me a lot as like a gladiator type of
Yeah.
movie, like Russell Crowe's Gladiator, like just very brutal and very violent. And I think like that kind of intrigued me just to see like that side of I guess a superhero movie because we don't get that a ton. You get a little bit in some of the X-Men movies, but I do think with Craven that makes sense. I just don't love in superhero movies like when they throw in ridiculous stuff that has nothing to do with the movie that
Ridiculous
just makes everybody
language.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, I that also kind of upset me. Not that Craven's rated R, but that if you're gonna do that, why didn't you make Venom rated R or
Yeah.
Venom 2? Like, not even because I want to hear them curse like a majority of the film or like these inappropriate scenes. No, like those are two very violent
Yeah,
characters. And
100%.
so to kind of I don't want to say they made the characters underwhelming in that aspect, but
Right. But
Craven over Venom is crazy to me.
yeah, that is odd. And I think to your point, like that was something that people had said about Wolverine for a really long time. And then it was very successful when they did Logan,
Yeah,
quote unquote, the right way
right.
with that. So I do think it makes sense for him, but I'm with you. I think it would have made more sense for Venom,
Yeah,
and that they didn't do it for both doesn't really make sense, but
yeah.
it is what it is. I don't
It's
know what to
whatever.
expect from
I
Marvel
don't know.
or
Sony hasn't done very
yeah.
good with live action anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, do I think there's the potential for this to turn the studio around? Not really,
Nope.
but if they prove me wrong, great.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of started to with the first Venom movie. I feel like I thought I thoroughly enjoyed the first Venom movie,
Yeah, for
and
what it was.
I know a lot of people weren't huge fans of it. I thought it was a solid movie.
Yeah,
Carnage, no, no.
I didn't well, I didn't hate either of those movies. I don't think either of them were great,
Yeah,
but I think they were setting up something that I was very interested in if you could expand it
right.
in the terms of a universe, which they haven't really done. And whether or not Craven will play into that, then great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll see.
kind of underwhelming trajectory for Sony so far, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they get a pass after Across the Spider Verse.
Yeah, we'll give them that one, I guess.
Yeah, this one can be bad.
Yeah,
That's okay.
win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
Yeah. But in other news, first episode of Secret Invasion is out. You haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
No.
Have you heard anything about it? Like,
Nope.
okay, I'm not gonna spoil it at all. I think it was solid. It
Okay.
was like it was an interesting watch. I think it was a great, not great. I think it was a pretty good first installment in the series.
Mhm.
It has to continue to step up though for it to be a series that I'm going to like.
Mhm.
I felt like in an hour long episode, a whole lot happened for nothing to happen.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know.
Just a whole bunch of setup, or
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of setup. It seemed like a lot of introduction, but nothing that we like didn't already know from trailers and
right?
from, things. There is some plot twists, but they're very, very heavily over what's the word? Where you like show something beforehand. Foreshadow.
Ah,
Foreshadow. I almost said overshadow, but that's not the word. Foreshadow. There's a lot of heavy foreshadowing, so it doesn't really come across as a surprise when those things happen.
yeah.
So there was that. I did think that they could have utilized a lot more suspense. Because for an espionage spy thriller, I felt like it had some, but not much.
Yeah.
And so it kind of felt like a kidded down version of like a spy espionage
Gotcha.
thriller, which, like I said, I didn't think it was bad by any stretch. I think it was interesting and they set up the storyline pretty well, but
Cool.
for it to be a good series, I think it needs to take a lot of big steps
Step
forward.
it up.
So
Cool. Isn't this a is it 6 episodes or
I think 6 is
7?
what I
Okay,
saw.
cool. They're all an hour long?
As far as I know,
That's crazy.
yeah, only
'Cause
one's come out, I think.
I think all the other shows were like 30 to 40 minutes long, and then the finales would be an hour. So
Yeah,
that makes me feel a little bit better knowing that, because at least they're giving the length.
the time it needs.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's good to know at least.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's super cool to see Samuel L. Jackson back in the capacity of Nick Fury that he probably has deserved over his career of how well he's played it.
Yeah.
So like seeing him get as much screen time as he does need is pretty cool.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'll let you take a look. But
Cool.
I thought it was solid. It wasn't terrible.
That-
Yeah. That was all the movie stuff that I heard.
I haven't heard of
Yeah,
any
not
new
a whole
movie
lot
things.
going
Not really.
on. Seems like all the big announcements have gone down. News by way of music, kind of similar, other than Travis Scott's Utopia, which someone in his label said was coming out on the 23rd.
Mhm.
Obviously,
And it's
didn't
the
happen.
25th.
Yeah, it's the 25th. So, I think my expectation is that I think it's going to come out like late July, like end of July. That'd be my assumption.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Young Thug though did drop from Behind Bars, the new album.
Oh
Business
yeah,
is
he's in
Business.
jail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I guess I listened through that whole album, and we can kind of segue into music, what we've listened to now with that. But I have never been really a fan of Young Thug. Like, he has some moments that I think are super cool.
Right.
I don't necessarily get the hype from him that I think a lot of people do, where he comes across as this revolutionary artist to them. He has a very unique sound, but being that I don't think that sound is very good
Yeah.
as a whole, like I said, I think he has some great moments, but as a whole, I don't think if your sound's not good, then innovation really matters.
Right. Yeah.
So, anyways, that being said, I was more curious with this album based on the circumstances of the album. Like,
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know he was doing anything.
yeah, I saw he had a countdown that he posted on Instagram like
Interesting.
2 weeks ago or something, and was, like I said, the circumstances of it coming out under, him being in jail for more than a year now was very interesting to me. I was curious to hear what he would come up with, because like I'd heard rumors of like Kodak Black recording over the phone from prison, and then the intro song on the album is called Parade on Cleveland, featuring Drake. And
he has 2 featuring Drake then.
yeah, and
it Oh, You Went.
Right. And it opens with like a phone call between him and Drake from prison. And so I was like, oh, what the, like, this album might be crazy. And then Drake comes in with the best melodic singing I've heard from him
Really?
since like 2013.
Wow.
Not even gonna lie. And I have been on the Drake hate train for the last 3 years, because I think everything he's put out has been pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was astonishing to hear him sing that well and sound
Nice.
that good. So that was really cool. But then I listened through the rest of the album, and I think a lot of it was like, I assume all of it was recorded before he went to prison, because there's like no dip in quality, no subject matter about what's going on, which seems weird because the album cover photo is of him in court, which, I mean, like, it just seems weird to like not really address it a whole
Right.
lot when that's like seems like the point you're making.
Yeah, if you're gonna drop an album behind bars, do it in there.
Well, yeah, even that, or just don't put the album cover as you in the courtroom if you're not going to talk about that, or like not even address it really.
That too, yeah.
Because, like, yeah, I mean, you get through the opening track and he talks about it a little bit, and then you're two tracks in, and the third track is Gucci grocery bag, and he's just talking about like a Gucci grocery, like that's literally what the song's about. So, like, I mean, I'm not here to tell him how to do it, live his life, or you know what to do with making his music, but
what is that?
yeah, and going through the album, like there was some bright spots. I think the song with the Racks featuring Travis Scott and 21 Savage, I really enjoyed. But as a whole, I wasn't super impressed. It seems like kind of par for him for me, which isn't very good.
Yeah. I didn't listen to it at all.
You didn't listen to the Drake song?
I only listened to Oh You Went.
Yeah.
And it was whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like I like Drake's part.
Yeah.
Like it was good. I'm not huge on Young Thug. Like
yeah.
He's whatever to me. I just didn't know he dropped an album. I gotta start figuring that out because you'll be like ready with saying, "Oh yeah, I listened to this album," and I'm like, I just listened to the singles.
Who had an album, man? What the?
Like I finally just listened like to all of the songs that Joyner dropped on his for his album. I just listened to all of that. So I gotta figure something out.
Yeah, what did you think of some of those? We talked I think last week. I really liked the Cut You Off track that we did.
Play.
I mean, we can play it for the view.
Oh, copyright. So I started with Broski.
Yeah.
It was good. A lot of these like were good, but I didn't download any of them besides the very first one that came out. I don't remember what it's called. But the four that I did listen to were Broski, Cut You Off, Devil's Work 2, and Blackout. I might go back and listen to Blackout again. I don't remember if I actually liked that one, but I was surprised with Cut You Off. Hearing Young Boy, because it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like it was actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
Devil's Work 2 was cool. Going from the first one where he's very upset like with everything going on, but he's more so asking like, hey, trade lives, but then coming in with this one saying, okay, like I didn't actually mean that, like I'm just upset,
right?
So like this is my perspective now, switch situations that have happened. And he starts off with saying like, don't let Will go up and like slap Chris, like change that around or like change the joke, something. And I mean, they're cool concepts and cool songs, but most of these songs weren't songs I plan on listening to again.
Yeah.
And so to me, that doesn't get me too excited for what the album's going to be. Broski was a great song. There's a song called Old Friend by Hobson, and that's what it reminded me a lot of, because in that song, he's just talking about how his friend did like meth or something and just changed into a whole different person. He's like, you were like the first one I started rapping with. Like, I wish I could be doing all this with you, but you're not even the same dude I know anymore.
He was just messing around. Shout out Theo Vaughn for that soundbite again. I think I've quoted him on 2 episodes in a row now. Oh boy.
But I did like Broski. Cut You Off wasn't bad. Devil's Work 2 is a great concept. I don't remember Blackout, so I'll go listen to that again. But I'm just let's see which one it is. The only song that had me excited for the album, because in my opinion, I think he kind of just popped off. Like it wasn't any concept in the song. It was just him spitting, and that's What's That. I liked that one a lot, but I'll go listen to Blackout again so I remember it.
For sure. I kind of talked last week a little bit about Joyner, and I feel like I'm kind of consistently let down by the albums, not because they're trash, just because I listened to it. I'm like, cool. Like that
Right.
didn't really do a whole lot for me, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm interested to see if he can step up with this
Yeah.
next one. But the first, he's released a handful off this album, and
Yeah. I'm surprised he's released so much at this point.
yeah,
Just dropped the album.
yeah, it's
Like,
still like a month and a half away too, which is
yeah.
crazy.
So either just stop dropping the singles or just release the
Yeah,
album already.
right. I also listened through the last couple episodes of the Weekend's soundtrack
Mhm.
for The Idol, and the beats are actually really cool.
Mhm.
Like, it feels like a more return to the Weekend's past works as opposed to what he's done with After Hours and
Right.
Dawn. Um, the beats are very cool. I would never recommend anybody listen to any of these songs because they are whack. Like I'm very used to the Weekend dropping some questionable subject matter in
Right.
his songs. Um, if you feel the need to relate to these songs by the Weekend, you should seek help. Um, it's some very outrageous, toxic stuff. So, uh, that's all I have to say about that.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
don't listen to it, and if you have liked them,
Something's wrong with you.
well, I eat. Anyways, I also did you check out the new song "Checkin" by Lupe Fiasco? It just came
No,
out.
I did not see that.
I think it dropped before New Music Friday, to be honest with you, but
Mhm.
it was a little bit. I really liked what he's released over the last few years, and this was very different for him. It had a lot of like more like almost like boom bap kind of um distortion
Cool.
and auto tune vocals, which I don't necessarily think is his strongest forte in music making, but it was really cool to hear him do something so different from what he's been
Nice.
doing and still do it really well and
Yeah.
still hold true to what he's really good at as well. So there's some positives on it. I
Mm.
don't know that I would continue to come back to it, but it's
Right.
definitely worth checking out. Checking.
You're so dumb.
I didn't even mean to do that.
It was the little ha.
The Kawhi Leonard.
Uh. There was one song that I wanted, like, it sounds so good, but I'm not a fan of the topic,
Mm,
and that's "Swine" by Demi Lovato. Did you listen to that one at all?
mhm,
It was super cool to listen to if it wasn't so political,
mm.
because I just don't care for those kinds of songs. Like, cool, like, I'm glad you wanna
Stand up for what you believe.
right,
Yeah.
like, good for you.
Yeah.
And it had a great sound to it. Just for listening purposes, I wish it wasn't that topic because the beat, like the instrumental, is incredible, and her vocals sound great on it. So, and it didn't sound like typical Demi.
Yeah.
So it was a good song.
Yeah.
Just I don't care.
Not for you necessarily.
No.
Yeah, I kind of felt like there wasn't a whole lot of admirable stuff that dropped this week single wise. Like I listened through that Young Thug album, and I think that
Mm,
was where I spent most of my music listening. But there was also the song "Sitting on Top of the World" by Burna Boy
yeah.
with 21. And I'm not the biggest Burna Boy fan. Like I think what he does is really cool, but it's just not necessarily my um type of music that I vibe with all the
Yeah.
time. But this was a really cool sound for him, and I thought 21 sounded pretty cool together with
Yeah.
him on that kind of song. So I think it was a little bit different for both of them than what I traditionally hear him do.
Right. I wish Burna Boy's vocals were turned up a little bit. I
Mm,
wish it wasn't as quiet and it felt muffled to me because I
yeah,
really liked that sound. Like, it was very interesting.
yeah,
I haven't heard much of that kind of a sound before. And so, like, and I don't even know who Burna Boy is. I just saw 21 Savage and I was like, okay, well, there's someone I know on there. Let's check it out.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I like how Burna Boy sounded. The instrumental was super cool and unique. 21 sounded good on it. So it was a cool dynamic. Just the only thing I wish was Burna Boy being a little bit louder, less muffled, because
Yeah.
it was solid.
Right. Yeah, I also felt a little underwhelmed by Chris Brown's new
Yeah.
track, Summer Too Hot. I don't
Yeah.
I feel like Chris Brown just tries to capitalize on like why people already like him and
Yeah.
release songs when that's applicable. So everybody's like, "Oh, Chris Brown likes some summer beachy vibes. I'm gonna release a song right now about that." Like literally
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I
I felt like he kind of did that with the Freaky Friday track that he did with Lil Dicky a few
yeah.
years back, like releasing a song that sounds perfectly suited for when it's coming out. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I just think Chris Brown's been doing that for a really long time, and so I
Yeah.
feel like I keep getting the same song out of it.
I just
But
I wish it was more of a summer song
yeah,
than just him talking about sleeping around again.
yeah, that's a lot to
Like
ask of Chris Brown, though.
I know,
Apparently,
but just wanted a summer song.
yeah. You thought you were just gonna get some beach vibes,
Yeah,
and
nope. I did not.
Chris Brown comes in with some Chris Brown. So
Typical. I don't know why I thought it was gonna be
yeah,
anything
no,
else.
and that's like I guess that's kind of what like I don't really have any beef with Chris Brown because I think he's talented,
Yeah.
but that's just like my criticism of his music. I feel like every Chris Brown song is just the same.
Yeah.
I think his best song personally to me is Look at Me Now, and it's probably the most different than what I would ever hear from him
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
There were only 2 songs that I ended up really liking this week and, like, downloading, and that was Doomsday with Lyrical Lemonade, Juice WRLD, and Cordae.
oh yeah, I did
Both,
listen to that.
like, hmm, this is the Juice WRLD I do like because I know it was something he was planning for
Right.
coming out, like, and that's not to say all of his work that's been released now since his passing wasn't meant to be released, but I don't think it was fully Juice WRLD's idea how it came out and the songs like listed and
Yeah.
all that. This
Wasn't
is
his
a
vision.
right, like this is a single, it's a collab with Cordae. Like I it sounded right. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this track. I think they both killed it and I liked the back and forth. I liked
Yeah.
how they would each do 2 bars each and then switch up and then they did I think it was like 8 or 12 and then the other one did 8 and 12 and it was just like a for fun thing and you could tell that like from
Right.
Corday just kind of introing it out being like, oh yeah, Juice World just got some ice cream, I had an ice cream
Yeah.
sandwich. Like
Yeah,
that you could tell that they had fun with it.
for sure.
And even the promotion that was going on with the song from Corday, like you could tell how much fun they were having in the booth, like in the studio, making this song when they did make this song. So it super good song. The
Yeah.
only the only other one I liked was "See You Again" with the Chainsmokers. I don't know if you heard that one.
I didn't because they gave me PTSD from their last collab with the Taco Bell girl. I'm not over it. Chain smokers have scarred me, but it was good for you.
I loved it. It was it was just cool background music. Don't worry, it didn't sound like demonic or anything.
Okay.
It was just a
It's not
cool
even that
little
she
vibe.
sounds demonic. It just gives me the willies. It's just an uncomfortable sound. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, it's a vibe.
Okay.
It's like it's great background music.
Mm.
That's it.
Okay.
Like I don't care too much for the lyrics, but I liked the instrumental and the vibe of it so much that I downloaded it. It's a great back. Like if I do want a game, I can throw this on and I don't
Right.
have to pay attention to it. So it's great.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I that was pretty much the extent of the new music that I listened to, but I also wanted to shout out a couple tracks that I've been coming back to a lot. This last week, I just went through some of my old music that I was listening to a couple years ago, and I really forgot how incredible the interlude track from the off season is. And the fact that he
Yeah.
dropped that as like the lead single from the album is astonishing to me. Um, anyways, the flows on that are just peak. The rhyming scheme is super cool. It's just Like it's not too in your face, but it's engaging throughout the whole song. And I love I love when J. Cole doesn't feel the need to like follow the music recipe, so to speak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he will just make something for the bars or for whatever purpose is on his mind and why he wants to make the song. And like I feel like I got the same vibe with the Adonis interlude that he did for the
Yeah.
Creed montage. Like he didn't feel the need to make like some catchy sports
Yeah.
song to
No.
make the movie. Like he didn't feel the need to like rap, you know, double entendres about the Creed or Rocky movies, or like he didn't feel like the need to make it a bunch of boxing stuff. Like
Yeah.
he just made a great verse for that
Right.
point in the movie, which was super cool. And so
Yeah.
I love when he does stuff like that. And I feel like the interlude track is a really good one. I also came back to Chicago Freestyle by
Mm.
Drake and Giveon from a few years ago. Um, this is like one of the few Drake songs over the past few years that I feel like I come back to a lot. It was the first introduction I had to Giveon. I think a lot of people maybe got their
Mm.
first introduction to him from that. Um, but Drake, he kind of obviously interpolates the Superman Eminem song on the chorus, which I think is a really cool use of that song, which I really liked the song Superman by
Yeah.
Eminem, but it also kind of makes me uncomfortable because like
That's
how
fair.
weird the
Yeah.
features are on it. Um, so I love that Drake interpolated it and did it so well.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it felt like he was paying homage to it, but also doing his own thing, which I really respected and liked a lot. Um, Giveon sounds fantastic on it. And so I really like that track, been listening to it a lot. And I also have been enjoying Florida Georgia Line's May We All by featuring Tim McGraw
Mm.
from a few years ago. It's just a super fun country song. Not really a whole lot of like depth or substance, but that's kind of the point of the song. Just
Right.
like enjoying life where you're at and you know the small things in life, which super cool, super fun, just with summer holidays and everything going
Yeah.
on. So yeah, those were my tracks.
Dope. Um. Sorry, I blinked for 0.5
You're
seconds.
good. You didn't listen to any music. You don't like any songs.
Zero songs. No, so one that it might become one of my favorite songs, like eventually, but I Don't Love Me by Black Bear is such a great song. And I've already said that one before.
On here.
Yeah. But it's back.
I thought you were gonna say Self Love
Self-love.
by Coi Leray.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say that's becoming one of your favorite songs. Because I was camping this last weekend and had no service. And we were just driving around. So like I was getting no messages, nothing. And I'm just like passing through this like I'm just on the road driving, and all of a sudden I like my phone pings in like this 1 square foot of cell service, and just whoop, I get this message from you, and it's like, this self-love song is so good. And that's like the one text that I got while I was gone.
Dude, that might become one of my favorite songs of the year. Like, I love that song so much now. I was at work the other day. It might have been yesterday, actually. Wait, did I send that text yesterday?
It may have been
I
yesterday.
did send that song yesterday. So I was coming back from lunch and my coworker was pissing me off to no like end. And so luckily that song came on. And I swear to you, I listened to that song like 12 times in a row because it just calmed me down.
It's soothing.
It's so nice.
Oh.
Yeah, I love that song. So
But yeah, the Black Bear track's a good one too. I Don't Love Me by Black Bear is a pretty good song. Definitely an underrated album as a whole, I think.
yeah, it's one of my favorite albums currently. I listen to that one very frequently still. So yeah, so those two, I didn't even put Self Love on the list. I forgot.
But
I
it's
listened to it
always
so
in
much.
rotation, so we're just gonna shout it out anyways.
This one's an older song. The second one I got is My Own Worst Enemy by Lit. I find myself listening to that a lot, like when I'm just playing games or like just driving around, it'll pop up, and it's been popping up a lot for some reason. Solid song, one that I love singing to. It's a good vibe, solid song.
Cool.
And then this it's an EP but it just dropped by two of my personal favorite artists that I found on TikTok a while ago, both Connor Price and Nick D. It's called Till Next Time, and a lot of people have been asking them to do a collab EP because they've already made a lot of songs together, and so they made an EP, and it's pretty solid. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
Really good. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up music for me.
Yep.
So we'll jump into this review of The Flash. We kind of gave a what's the word I'm looking for? Stipulation beforehand last week when we reviewed Kendrick Lamar's album. Where we were kind of like saying any criticism of the album isn't like criticism of the person. And I'm going to say the opposite this time. Like any praise that I give to this movie or to the acting, I like it should go without saying, but like whatever Ezra Miller's, stuff going on outside of the film is not what we're praising or talking about in this at all. So, like I said, should go without saying, but gonna say it anyways.
Just to be safe.
And before we get some spoilers into this movie, what did you think? What would you like give it out of 10?
I don't know. Like like a 6.
Okay.
Like a 5.
Interesting.
It was enjoyable part of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it a I think I liked it a lot more than you did. I gave it a 7.2. Which put it just slightly higher than Guardians of the Galaxy 3 for me, for reasons I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, I thought it was decent. But the spoilers going forward. Anyways, point being.
Honestly, it's probably not that harsh. I'd probably give it like a 6 to a 6.5.
Okay.
Because thinking about the entirety of the movie, it wasn't trash, but the fact that everybody beforehand was saying, "Oh, this is going to be the greatest superhero movie of all time," and then I already knew it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
Nor did I even think it was going to be the greatest superhero movie in recent years. I don't have that much faith in DC.
Yeah. You're at a loss for words. Struggling.
The CGI pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but I think it was like the director or the head person of the visual effects or whatever said that it was supposed to look like that. And he said something along the lines of, if it looks like it was made in a week, it probably was.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Both points you made, actually, I agree with. I think it does movies a great disservice when you promote it by saying, oh, it's going to be this, like it's going to be the greatest X, Y, or Z, or it's going to be the best portrayal of whomever. I think the movies that are very successful don't need to rely on that kind of hype and will get there themselves, and they gain the traction themselves. Like, when did you ever hear Across the Spider-Verse being like, this is the best animated movie ever, or since whoever, or this is the best portrayal of Spider-Man? Nobody said that, and yet that's everybody's perspective and consensus coming out of the movie.
Right.
Even if they didn't love it as much as like whatever people are saying it is, everybody kind of agrees on the quality tier of that movie. And so I think they did The Flash a great disservice by, touting it to be that, because we kind of talked beforehand and you said that you've heard that it's either fantastic or that it's trash.
Yeah.
And I had seen the movie when you said that, and in my mind I was like, well, it's neither of those things. Like it's pretty mid, like it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
And so I think the perception of it, because of where people said it was going to be, it seemed a lot worse than what I actually think it was.
Right.
And agreed with the CGI. I did see that from the director that said it's supposed to look like that, and then he kind of explained why. He's like, when you're moving that fast, your perspective is different. And so we're seeing it from the Flash's perspective. That's great. You don't need to make it look garbage though. Like, make it look different in a good way.
Right.
Like, show us the distortion of speed in a different way.
There was one part when he was catching like the babies and whatever. You could tell it was a doll. Like,
yeah. Straightforward.
Yeah,
That's all you got to say.
That's it.
You could tell.
Upsetting.
No, nobody was getting fooled. So, yeah, I agree with you there for sure. I will say that in spite of the poor CGI, because you brought up the baby scene, I felt like this was one of the better portrayals of what felt like quote unquote a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when Into the Spider-Verse came out, everybody, or at least big comic book fans, kind of all immediately recognized it feels like you're watching a comic book. Like it feels like it's moving and flowing like a comic book, and that all of those things are happening. And I do think The Flash was one of the best times that I've felt like a live action movie does that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could see in my mind on like a comic book page the sequence of events of him like catching the babies out of the air just because it's so obscure, but it would fit in a comic book.
You're right.
And then like putting a baby in the oven and then setting it down and it dings. Like that would be on a comic book page. Is it connected to any power? No. So is it going to ding? No. Is that reasonable? And if it did ding, is it reasonable to put a baby in a working microwave that is microwaving actively? No. But like that's what I feel like you would see on a comic book page. And so I did really like that aspect of the film. And I felt like that, you know, the baby scene did that or proved that to me early in the movie, but I felt like that was reestablished as we went throughout. There was a lot of times when I was like, this feels like I'm watching live action, the panels on a comic book page, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. One thing I will give a lot of credit to is everyone's acting. I thought the acting from everyone was really, really good. The only one I wish wasn't there, I wish Wonder Woman wasn't in there. It felt very unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got that like one portion of comedy from it. But other than that, it's like, why were you there? You're not even gonna be Wonder Woman in like the next month. Like you're gone. So that was whatever. But just from his acting, his past is terrible. He's a terrible human being. But Ezra Miller did play the Flash very well. Both sides, like in both universes, he played both characters perfectly, and how I would envision like that situation actually happening. Like if you were to see yourself as a superhero, all that, like you're more like, whoa, this is awesome, and like whatever. So he played the giddy teenager very well, and then he played a more serious version of Barry Allen very, very well too. Michael Keaton, phenomenal. Yeah, didn't expect anything less from that. Like he even him like coming into the movie was hilarious. Like when you first see him, he looks like Robin Williams from Jumanji. Like that when he first looks like oh, it got you.
Oh, that took me. That whoa. Painted me a word picture right there. That was incredible.
I didn't think about that until literally right now. And then whoever, I don't know the actress's name, but who played Kara?
Yeah, Sasha Kaye. Yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Like she did not have a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
For a superhero movie and quote unquote a main character in a more of a side character, I guess. But nonetheless, she killed it. I love her. I loved her acting. The emotion she had in the scenes she was in was perfect.
Yeah.
The confusion, the feeling of betrayal from a planet that was supposed to be a safe home, like when she got there. She killed it. She might have been my favorite out of the movie, and I hate all the super people, so that's saying a lot. Like but the acting was on point. I really enjoyed the acting.
Yeah, for sure. I'll echo that sentiment. I think Ezra Miller's acting brought a very refreshing quirkiness to superhero characters, and we have a lot of like lighthearted superheroes. Like that's a very common thing. We have a lot of very intelligent superheroes. That's also a very common thing. There's only a select few that I think pull off that quirky, smart genius level character who's also very awkward
Mhm.
really, really well. And like Spider-Man's one of those characters that's brilliant, but also like has a lot of that youthful quirkiness. And I think Ezra Miller's portrayal in the acting sense did that very, very
Right.
admirably. Like it was really cool to kind of see Barry Allen portrayed in both of those ways, like you're saying. I also thought Sasha Kai was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Period. Like I kind of had my doubts initially, like during the whole Russia rescue scene.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how I would feel about her going forward after that. I also felt like, just side note, it felt like kind of weird that they um advertised her so much when it seemed like that was supposed to be
Yeah.
such a plot twist in the movie.
Yeah.
Like I in my mind, like they're building up this plot twist during the whole screen time, and I'm like, okay, I know Supergirl's the main person throughout
Yeah.
this. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, what's probably going to happen is they're going to find Clark Kent. They're going to show up. It's going to
Mhm.
be Henry Cavill, and he's not going to be Superman
Right.
or like whatever, like that was what I thought was going to happen. And I thought it would be kind of this comedic scene, and then they would turn to go find Supergirl.
Mhm.
But then they find her, and like it's portrayed as this big reveal plot twist. And
Like,
I was like, dude, I've seen like almost all of these scenes in the trailer. Like, this isn't surprising. So, anyways, side note, that was kind of a weird way to advertise it, but I get
yeah.
like wanting your big characters to be
Right.
seen. So, anyways, but after she saved Barry, and then especially after she had that confrontation with General Zod, I really was impressed by the way she portrayed the character, and I could tell her commitment to it was just top tier. Like she
Right.
did great playing that character. I do hope to see something from her going forward.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I think she would do great in like a tag team movie with another Superman actor, or her own thing, like her own miniseries or whatever. I think she
Right.
would do a really good job.
I agree.
Michael Keaton, I thought also was a great return. Have you seen his early Batman movies?
No.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of those. Those are like, I grew up watching those at a really young age
Right.
before Christian Bale did anything, or obviously Ben Affleck. So it was really cool to see him kind of get a respected return when I wasn't alive during the time when they were being released, but watching the 4 early Batman movies
Mhm.
with Keaton and Val Kilmer and Clooney, it seems weird, the flow of it, that there's no like resolution or continuation for any of the characters.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see Michael Keaton get that return that I felt like he deserved,
Mhm.
because he plays such a great Bruce Wayne in the movie, and honestly such a great Batman.
Right.
I don't think he was the best when those came out. I still think after this movie, I don't think he was the best portrayal of Batman.
Yeah.
For me, I think Pattinson and Christian Bale did better.
Mhm.
But he certainly did a really good job and was deserving of that return that he got.
Right.
So it's really cool for me to see that from him. Um, I think he carried Bruce Wayne's persona very well. And I wanted to specify that because it seems pretty obvious that the minute there's an action scene with Batman, that Michael Keaton is nowhere to be found on set.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect. I was like watching, and I was like, I don't think that guy's face is Michael Keaton's face, but anyways,
Yeah.
he played the character very, very well though. And I saw this movie with my wife, who she likes some superhero movies. She likes a lot of what has come out recently with a lot of like the Guardians movie and all that kind of stuff. But like it's not her favorite genre of movies. And she's seen like the Christian Bale Batmans. She's seen Ben Affleck in films as Batman. And after seeing this movie, I thought it was really interesting. She said to me, I get the appeal of Batman now. I understand what
Wow.
makes him so interesting and so enticing, like what makes him such a cool character to so many
Hmm.
people. And I was like, huh, like interesting that Michael Keaton's portrayal in that
That was the
movie.
one.
And like thinking back, I think we do get a lot of cool things about all the different Batmans, but I think in this film, he portrays Bruce Wayne's genius very, very well.
Yeah.
He portrays the gadgets that like make Batman famous very, very well. Like it's super cool to see all those things come
Right.
together. His leadership, like his action sequences. He did all of those things in like maybe the least amount of screen time
Yeah.
for a Batman, in at least a very long time that was very mainstream. So
Right.
super cool portrayal for him. And I just thought it was interesting that like a more casual fan of movies noticed that and said
Mhm.
that to me, because like I'm just walking out like thinking, oh, like he did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
like,
literally.
like I get the appeal of Batman, but
Right.
so anyways,
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
And I like I'm glad to me he got a good death. Like
Yeah,
so it was cool to like he came back and then he got his ending. Like
yeah, the closure.
I don't know how the other movies went. I don't know if Batman dies ever. I'm assuming he didn't die in those movies.
Yeah,
So like he got his last
right.
remarks, he got his sentiment out. It was a cool little closing thing. One of the best parts I thought of the movie was and to me, I don't know if you caught on, like I said before, you're very good at just picking up on what's happening next. Um, but the whole Barry being the time deviant thing,
Yeah,
and like that whole scene where I mean the other Barry is like continually trying to fix it,
right.
and then just to find out like, oh,
I'm so
I'm the
close.
reason that
Yeah,
like all of this is going on. And like for the CGI being so terrible, that last scene where all the worlds are colliding didn't look bad.
yeah.
Like it looked it looked really
They
good.
probably spent a week on that scene and then a week on the rest of the movie.
No, literally. So that was a cool part. And I think it's funny that they got Nicolas Cage
Yeah, to
Superman.
reprise like
Yeah.
the infamous lack of Superman movie that he was supposed to be in.
Yeah, I didn't know that was ever a thing. Like,
Yeah. So
it's so random.
right. And I never have seen like the giant spider villain that was
Yeah.
supposed to be in that. And so I was like, who the heck, like what kind of super villain is that? And so anyways, super cool. Like I don't even think that's a real Superman villain, that giant spider.
Really?
I think it was supposed to be a Tim Burton film, and
Okay.
like the writer that they hired to help out on it had like all of these obscure ideas that he wanted Tim Burton to help bring to life, and that was one of them. And so I think they were just like paying tribute to the obscurity of that, which I thought was like,
I got a
like,
chuckle.
yeah,
Yeah. Just
yeah,
Nicolas Cage turning around with his long, luscious
yeah,
hair.
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I do think, like, just on the note of all those cameos, it seemed weird that Grant Gustin from the TV show didn't make an
Yeah.
appearance in it. I thought for sure, whether like there was rumors that he was going to take over as the new Flash or whatever, whether or not he was ever going to do anything like that, I thought for sure he would have a cameo in it. And I stopped following that show after season 1. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But I guess Ezra Miller had a cameo as the Flash in the Flash TV show.
Oh, are you serious?
In a Flashpoint episode. And so I was like, well, if you're gonna do that, like,
give my
why
man
not on the big
Grant?
screen?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyways, that was
That's
a little weird. And then I was also just reading a note I made on the note of the CGI. I do agree, like in that scene, it seemed a little better. And I do think at the multiverse bowl thing, it made more sense for it to look weird than it did like with the baby. They're like all that other stuff. Like I think in the bowl it made a little more the context was a little better. Though I still think you could make it look better. But I will say that I think the lightning on the Flash was super cool.
Yeah.
Like whenever he's like, and even the sound effects, like the special effects sounds, I thought that was super cool. Like the minute he did that and it was like crackling throughout the whole theater, I was like, oh man, that was sweet.
Yeah. I guess they didn't do as bad as I'm first originally thought.
Yeah, no, but the scenes that were bad though were that bad to the point where it overshadows everything else that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. But it did have its good moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Like even the emotion, like the last time he's gonna see his mom, like when they're in the store. That hit me a little bit. Yeah, that was hard to watch.
For sure. I also recognize that watching this film, I think there was a heavy helping of emotional context for the film, where like if you appreciate and understand the emotional toll of the character, it makes the movie a lot more enjoyable.
Right.
And this is actually why I rated it higher than Guardians of the Galaxy, is because while it did that, I don't think the film relied on that to be good. Yeah. Because I look at the plot and the idea of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 without your emotional investment in the characters or in Rocket.
Yeah.
that film's really not that good of a storyline.
Hmm.
Like, just in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's okay, but it's not like a great
Right.
film storyline. It's not like Infinity War or, No Way
Right.
Home or any of these like great superhero storylines that have come out in the last little while. So I think The Flash, the reason I ranked it higher is because I think it utilized that really well. It makes you feel emotional for the character, but it also doesn't rely on that. And it also has the great storyline to complement that emotional uh, tone of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
This might be bad, but I just started thinking of Transformers, and I still enjoyed that movie so much more.
Well,
That
I mean, I can check that film out too if you want to talk
no,
about
because
that.
you're gonna roast me because it. I don't know if it's actually that
If
good of a
you're
movie.
out of context here, there are no Transformers in the Flash. So
I know. I don't know what happened. You just started talking. I was like
hey man,
thinking about.
Transformers is pretty good.
I was trying to think of like storylines and everything, and that was like me talking about like if like that I enjoyed Transformers more, and then I started thinking of the actual story behind Transformers, and then I blocked you out completely, and I just started thinking of the Transformers.
Oh man.
So the reason I said yes because I don't know the last little bit you just said.
No, it's all good. Point being, I think that the storyline was decent in the film. That's all you got to know out of that. Anyways, I guess to build on that though, I think like I talked about it when we reviewed Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I definitely think like people talk about superhero fatigue, and like I kind of roll my eyes whenever I hear that because like if you're gonna make a good movie, then great, and like
Right.
that's fine. I'll watch a good movie. I get that people who maybe aren't fans of the characters would get sick of that, but just I mean, don't watch it then. Like,
Right.
why are you even worried about it or reading it?
Yeah.
Anyways, but I do think that for me, the multiverse fatigue is real because
Yeah.
not because I think this was a bad multiverse movie. Quite the contrary. I think it portrayed the multiverse pretty well for
Yeah.
like a speedster movie, and seeing it from a non-magic perspective was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Everything we've seen in the MCU is more magic based, and this was like more, I guess space-time,
Right.
speed,
It was just based off
science
of his
based.
like
Right.
powers. Like
Yeah. Science, quote unquote. But like it's unfortunate because I was reading just history wise, like the Flashpoint multiverse storyline, well, maybe not Flashpoint, but the multiverse appearance, like the idea of it in comic books, happened in the Justice League universe like decades before Marvel ever mentioned it
Wow.
in theirs. And so like the fact that it happened in Marvel movies first, like kind of to our, discussion a couple weeks ago where you were like, this film actually, like we agreed this film did it better than any of the other ones, but it was like, I'm kind of tired of seeing that storyline. Same here. Like, I think, it kind of sucks for DC that Marvel's done it and done it really well already.
Yeah.
Because like now your movie just seems second rate to that, even though you've already, been working on this for, longer than those films have been out.
Right.
But it doesn't like really change my perception because of when it's come out and when I've seen it and how I've seen it portrayed. So
Right.
anyways, I definitely think that fatigue is real, and I don't mind it. I just wish we could like mix it up a little bit in between.
Yeah, like we don't have to just keep it at multiverse, guys. We can do other things. And maybe the Kraven movie will be
refreshing in that context. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I mean hopefully, or for all I know, they're gonna do
Kraven the multiverse.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be a bad guy in another multiverse.
Exactly.
Oh man.
The last thing about that I have for the Flash movie is who the heck is that Bruce Wayne at the end?
So that's George Clooney, and he was in the fourth Batman, like 80s Batman, or I guess it was 90s Batman and Robin, the infamous Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze era.
Okay, because I knew it was someone that like we already knew. I knew it wasn't just some random Bruce Wayne, but I didn't know who the heck that was.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Yeah, that does suck for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I keep doing the Kawhi Leonard laugh unintentionally.
Uh,
Anyways, yeah, I guess that's my last point on this too. Is I felt like this movie was touted up to be like, oh, everything's gonna make sense after the Flash. Like, we're gonna know where the DC universe is going. I feel like I learned nothing
you
in two and
know,
a half hours in there. Like, I was like, okay, that was a fine movie, but I'm exactly where I was when I
yeah,
walked into this thing.
yeah.
Is Ben Affleck your Batman? Is George Clooney? Is Michael Keaton? Is Christian Bale going to be Batman? Is Wonder Woman in the universe? Is like I learned nothing in that
Yeah,
movie.
if anything, I'm more
Essentially,
confused.
yeah, about their vision of where things are going.
Yeah, because you literally brought everyone back except for Henry,
Yeah,
and even then, he might have been on the TV, but you couldn't see his face.
yeah. So the idea of him at least was in it.
Right. But yeah, I
Is Black Adam there?
no, he's gone. That one's done. But yeah, like, are you gonna bring in Supergirl?
I
I
guess
guess that's the
Keaton
only
can't really come
yeah.
in.
And I know it won't be Christian Bale because they did you see that the studio like begged him to make an appearance and he was like, no.
Yeah, but did you I read that also, and he said that he would do it again if they could convince Nolan to direct,
Mhm.
and they've talked to Nolan about directing another trilogy.
What
I don't think it's ever going to go anywhere, but stranger things have happened in cinema. Maybe not, actually. I don't know if anything that strange has happened.
As Doctor Strange once said, things are getting out of hand.
Yep.
That's it.
That is true. Anyways.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Another Christian Bale trilogy. Just cause.
Yeah, just because why not?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd like that. Just it's great where it is. Just leave it as it is. But anyways, man, I think that's all I've got on the Flash.
Yep.
To sum up, it was fine.
It was a good
I feel
movie.
like I didn't learn anything
Nope.
in the context of the multiverse, but it was cool to see the Flash on the big screen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that we've had a lot of speedsters get solo movies. Am I mistaken in that?
No, you're right.
Like, we've seen like Quicksilver in X-Men and in the Avengers, and we've seen Flash in Justice League movies, and we've seen Flash TV show. But it was kind of cool to see a speedster get their own movie, and especially the Flash.
I do like when these main characters do get their own solo films.
Yeah.
Like those who are actually main characters.
Right.
So like Kraven, I don't think you necessarily deserve one, but like Flash hasn't gotten anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's cool to give them
For sure
their flowers and give them their opportunity for one.
Yeah. You have anything else you want to share about the Flash?
Man, I wish Ezra Miller didn't do all those terrible things.
Yeah.
He did good.
Yeah. That's also what I don't understand. Like, I don't know where the heck that's going either. Like, that didn't resolve any questions for me about that either.
In jail?
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment because I really don't know the correct answer for that. So I don't. Anyways, yeah,
that's it.
I guess to close out, just don't listen to the soundtrack from The Idol. Those weekend songs, don't do it. It's not worth it.
And to that, goodbye.
Cheers.
It didn't end on us this time.